Good day, everyone. We are from CURA, the Institute of Culture, Religion, and World Affairs at Boston University. Today, we will be interviewing our fantastic fellow, David Glovsky, and I'm delighted to have David with us today. Hey, David, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Before we begin this amazing interview, could you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm originally from the Boston area. Actually, I spent a little bit of time on BU's campus when I was a child. So it's nice to be back in the area. Before I was an academic, I did a lot of different things. I worked in live statistics for college sports at ESPN, the television station. I did radio broadcasting. I also served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Senegal, which is what really got me interested in studying history. Now I am a historian here at Boston University, where I teach African history, and my research really comes out of this time that I spent living in a rural part of Senegal. At the time I was doing community health and environmental work, but I was really interested in understanding this place I had come to care so much about. And so when I came back, I decided I wanted to go to graduate school, and I wanted to study the history of Senegal and neighboring countries. And so my research more broadly looks at histories of cross-border mobility and community building between Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and Guinea, looking at how rural people across borders form communities that may not be aligned to colonial and post-colonial states.
Amazing. So what are you working on right now?
So right now I'm on leave for the year to write a book. The book I'm working on is tentatively titled Borderlanders, Alternative Geographies, Mobility and Autonomy in West Africa. And it looks at histories of cross-border mobility of farmers and pastoralists, herders, traders, Islamic scholars between these four countries, Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and Guinea, and looked at how through this mobility people built these connections across borders that really served as a sort of community, an alternative community to the community that colonial and later post-colonial states were trying to put forward. So rather than living primarily in the country of Senegal, people lived in this cross-border space where their connections were primarily on the other side of the border rather than to places like national capitals.
Okay, and what is your recent publication?
Very, very recently, last week, I had an article published on Ajami writing in Guinea, in the Fouta Djallon Highlands of Guinea. So I've been working for years with Boston University's African Studies Center on a project to transcribe and translate texts written in West African languages with the Arabic script into English and French and make those texts available to the public. And so as part of that, we published a special issue of the journal Islamic Africa. And myself and my co-author, Abubakar Jallo, wrote an article on the tradition of Ajami writing in this region of Guinea called Fouta Djallon. Even as people have left Fouta Djallon, they've continued to write in Ajami. So what we do is kind of trace this movement over time and look at all the ways, and even though our world today thinks more about, in African countries writing in French or English, or even in African languages in the Latin script, we look at this long history of writing using the Arabic alphabet.
And if we talk about your work in your field, what is the most interesting work in your field?
What's most exciting for me about being an African historian is that African history is an inherently interdisciplinary effort, and it's something that's very connected to how people live today. So a lot of what I see my work in conversation with, and a lot of the work that I see as really important in African history, is in touch with some of the really large issues facing Africans today, whether those issues are environmental, political, economic, social, religious, cultural. Our work is so much about understanding the past to really understand the contemporary dynamics in Africa today. And this is something I emphasize a lot to my students. It's really important to me that when students take African history courses, that they get an appreciation for Africa's past, but they also understand why things are the way they are today and how they might be different in the future.
And what is your most exciting publication?
It's so hard to choose, but if forced, I wrote an article about a year ago called Collaboration, Survival, and Flight Fulbe Narratives of Guinea-Bissau's War for Independence in the Journal of African History. And what that article seeks to do is to look at how people experienced war on an everyday level, why people made decisions about fighting on one side or the other, or kind of playing the middle, or opting out and fleeing their homes entirely. And so in doing so, it helps to have us think about sometimes wars for independence are framed as these sort of heroic narratives, people fighting against the odds to gain independence, which is certainly true, but that's not how most people experience these wars on a daily basis. So drawing on anthropological literature, I look at the experience of war as a social condition and think about how people's everyday life and their decisions were shaped by what was going on around them.
Okay, Dave. If our audience wants to reach you to have discussion, what is the best way to do so?
You can find me on Twitter at Glovsky, that's just my last name, Glovsky. You can email me at dglovsky@bu.edu. Find me on the BU History Department website. And please reach out if you want to talk about any of these issues, you have any questions. If there are any students who see this, who want to take classes with me, I'd love to hear from you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dave, for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. It was a pleasure having you. And everyone, don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. You can also find the link to our platform in our bio. See you in the next video.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.